Good morning, everybody. My name is Edward Abrahams. I'm president of the Personalized Medicine Coalition. For those of you who don't know us, PMC is an education and advocacy organization that promotes the understanding and adoption of personalized medicine concepts, services, and products to benefit patients and the health system. A membership organization that comprises all sectors in healthcare with an interest in advancing personalized medicine. Among our 250 members are PMC's co-hosts for today's conference, without whom it would not have been possible. The American Association of Cancer Researchers, the nation's oldest and largest professional organization dedicated to advancing cancer research, and Feinstein Keane Healthcare, a leading strategy and communications firm which, among other things, established the first personalized medicine consultancy in 2004. We live in extraordinary times. New scientific discoveries, new technological advances, and new therapies linked to diagnostics are providing new approaches to fighting cancer with spectacular results. As recently as this morning, there's an article in the New York Times about the understanding of exceptional patients that respond to therapy that others don't, and how this might lead to new cures for cancer. It's based on an article in the New England Journal. So it's in the news every day, this exciting times we live in. The point is captured in an ad from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center that I'm sure you've seen, featured in the New York Times, entitled, "More Science, Less Fear." The ad notes, there will never be one cure for cancer, there will be millions. Everyone in this room understands what underpins that ad. It goes on to say, physicians can analyze a tumor to find its genetic weakness, whatever that means, and customize a treatment solution. We also know that the ad, and indeed the hopes of cancer patients and their families, rests on the twin pillars of patient-centered care and an understanding of value, not just the cost of treatment, a point that seemed beyond the grasp of 60 Minutes last Sunday. And, if I'm not mistaken, everyone here also understands that putting those two principles into practice is less than simple. The policies that sustain innovation in cancer research and care are our focus here this morning and all day. To ensure that we maximize the opportunity of these extraordinary times are indeed why we have convened. To effectively prevent, diagnose, and treat cancer, physicians can target the disease at the molecular level. They can disrupt the pathways that cause cancer, and they can even bolster our own body's defenses to fight the progression of the disease. Today, a cancer diagnosis does not have to be a death sentence. With the development of personalized medicines and other innovations, 1 in 22 people in the United States is a cancer survivor. Yet, we have a long way to go. As we know, many patients have cancers for which there are no effective treatments. Estimates range as high as 75%. Remember that the next time you read about a new targeted therapy that has a high efficacy rate, extends life, but also has a high price tag. The price tags of the new therapies, as we know, have become a contentious issue. It will provide the background, whether we like it or not, for much of our discussion today as we sort out what we mean by value and cost. I am reminded of what Janet Woodcock told the Personalized Medicine Coalition at the National Press Club in May 2013, before Sovaldi was approved. If we can cure hepatitis C, she said, there's not going to be a peep from anybody because of the cost effectiveness will be absolutely clear. Same with cancer. Well, obviously her prediction regarding public opinion may have been incorrect, but it is hard to argue with her evaluation of drugs, which is what she gets paid to do, and their respective value to patients and the health system. We are, in fact, at a critical juncture in our fight against cancer. We have the potential for significant gains in the near future, but we also face obstacles, and not only in understanding the biology of the disease. Rising healthcare costs, rightly so, are forcing payers and policymakers to focus on ways to control expenditures, but sometimes, unfortunately, without reference to the principle of individual variation and solely on the basis of high cost without consideration of demonstrated clinical value and improving the quality of life for cancer patients. The conveners of this conference are especially concerned that we put in place the right policies to encourage innovation in cancer research and care so that we take advantage of the developments in science and technology that I have referenced earlier, which will enable physicians to target the right therapies to the right patients, sometimes even before they show symptoms of the disease. We believe that the current rules of the road, which were designed for a one-size-fits-all world, need to be updated and modernized in order to keep pace with the accelerating developments in science and technology. We're going to take a close look at those rules today. In your issue brief, circulated in advance of this conference and also when you came in, we have identified a dozen or so policy recommendations for your consideration in an effort to redefine the space between the science and the patient, if for no other reason than that to reduce the significant time lag between discovery and adoption. As I mentioned, two key themes shape our perspective. They are, first, as I noted, the importance of patient-centered care. We know that cancer is more than 200 different diseases. It expresses itself differently in every patient. We will know that we cannot declare victory until we stop treating the disease and start treating the patient, as the ad from Memorial Sloan Kettering reminds us. And second, we need to focus our attention on the respective therapies, on the value of respective therapies to each patient and to the health system, not, as I mentioned, just its cost. While new targeted therapies resulting from our better understanding of how cancer develops may be more expensive than one-size-fits-all medicine, they are also more effective, usually less toxic, and keep cancer patients in the workforce. But overall costs should also decline as ineffective therapies, which again 60 Minutes missed, are eliminated. This is the promise of personalized medicine, as Janet Woodcock reminded us. Getting the right treatment to the right individual is what patients want, and it is also, in our view, what the health system should encourage. Although, as I mentioned at our first Turning the Tide conference, but we'll repeat again here, we no longer talk about a war on cancer. There is, however, one part of that metaphor that I think remains useful. In a military campaign, we employ multiple weapons against the enemy. So too, in our effort to combat cancer, or over 200 identifiable forms of that disease that will kill over 600,000 Americans annually, we need to deploy all of our resources at our disposal, just as if we were at war. That imperative has focused our attention on the many public policies that can either accelerate or impede progress against cancer, in addition to increasing funding for basic research. If we are serious about taking advantage of the recent breakthroughs in our ability to understand the molecular pathways of cancer, as well as the new tools that have been developed to precisely diagnose the disease, we have to consider all the multiple variables that determine how quickly the new basic science is translated into better care. That is the theme for this conference. Facilitating targeted and more effective cancer treatment depends on our ability to do that. I would also like to thank the institutions and some of the people that helped organize this conference, including 4 PMC board members who are in the audience today. Amy Abernathy of Duke and Flatiron, Steve Overbush of Bristol-Myers Squibb, Stephen Echt, who I think is way back there in the back, of Astellas, and Mike Kolozhny of Aetna, whose participation is much appreciated. In addition, I also want to thank our supporters, especially Oncoplex Diagnostics, whose CEO is John Burrows. It is Cancer Diagnostics Laboratory in Rockville. Novartis Oncology, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Pfizer, Astellas, Aetna, AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, Molecular Health, Cancer Care, the Alliance for Cancer Gene Therapy, the Association of American Cancer Institutes, ASCO, Friends of Cancer Research, Melanoma Research Alliance, and Faster Cures for what we hope will be a successful conference and an effective call to action. As I read that this morning, I am reminded that this is a major league lineup in the fight against cancer that have supported this conference. Before I turn the podium over to my co-conspirator, John Resloff of AACR, please join me in thanking our supporters for their help today. John.
Thanks so much, Ed. Good morning. My name is John Retzloff, and I am the Managing Director for Science Policy and Government Affairs at the American Association for Cancer Research. And really, it's an honor and privilege this morning for me to introduce the moderator for this morning's first panel session, Dr. Ann Barker. Dr. Barker, many of you know Dr. Barker very well. Her career has spanned industry, government, and academia. She spent nearly a decade as the Deputy Director at the National Cancer Institute, and also during that time, as being the Deputy Director, she was also the Deputy Director for Strategic Scientific Initiatives at the NCI from 2002 to 2010. Prior to that, she served with worked for the Battelle Memorial Institute for 18 years, where she led teams in the private sector focused on drug discovery and development. Dr. Barker is also a member of our AACR Science Policy and Government Affairs Committee, where really her expertise and insight is so valuable to me personally in the DC office, as well as the entire AACR. We don't move forward on any kind of policy platform, policy initiative without Dr. Barker's input and perspective. Currently, Dr. Barker is the Director of Arizona State University's Transformative Healthcare Networks and co-director of the Complex Adaptive Systems Initiative. So as I welcome Dr. Barker to the stage, you may also be interested in knowing that in 2009, she was named to the list of 100 people changing America by Rolling Stones magazine. Now, I'm not sure what kind of tune you sing, but I would never doubt for a minute that you also do that well.